Hi, I'm McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups and relationship issues. And today we're going to talk about my ex is seeing my best friend. So this came in as a viewer question story. A lot of the stories are getting shorter, as are the attention spans. So I'm doing more shorts. And if you have a question beyond just a story, maybe a shorter version of your story, send it into writemac.com, and maybe I'll review it in a live stream just like this. So just to get started here, my ex is seeing my best friend. Number one, don't fake that it's okay with you. Okay, don't act like this isn't a time for you to go like, oh, fake it till you make it. It's all right. Don't show your cards. If your best friend or friend is seeing your ex and you don't like it, you can tell them, look, it's not cool with me, and I'm probably not going to talk to you for a little while. Or you can just stop talking. Like you could say that. Don't fake it, because it's just going to eat you up inside. Okay? So that's number one. If it really bothers you and you try to act like with your friend, especially as a guy, like, oh, I don't care, she's just a hoe anyways, or this or that. Don't do that. It's just going to hurt you. Right? So just be honest with yourself. If you need to clip that friend or not talk to them for a little while, that's fine. But don't fake being their friend and being okay with it. Number two, okay, how it went down counts. Okay, it's not just cut and dry that your best friend, quote unquote, stole your girlfriend. So I would highly recommend that you send in your story if this happened and kind of unpack it, because how it went down counts. If she broke up with you and, you know, it's because of money, or it was because of being overweight, or things are just not the same, or you were going to break up anyways, it was inevitable, and then your best friend comes into the picture maybe 2 months, 3 months later, okay, it's still fucked up. I'm not saying that it's like, oh yeah, it's fine then, but how it went down counts. Now, that being said, you still don't have to like it, accept it, or fake that it's okay with you, but it's different on different circumstances, right? It's not so cut and dry that, oh, it's your best friend stole your ex. A lot of times that's not what happened. You were breaking up anyways. And by the way, this is actually more common than you think, because if you've hung out with your friend a lot, and this is what gets lost a lot of times. I talked about this before. A lot of attraction, old school attraction before dating apps, was familiarity. What do I mean by that? It's like you work with someone, you go to school with someone, and then you get more attracted to them after seeing them over and over again and kind of knowing their character, right? And so that's kind of been like bled out a little bit because of dating apps and because of Instagram and those kinds of things. But that's old school attraction 101, right? So when you hung out with your best friend all the time, and this is why, to be honest with you, if your best friend is good with women, you probably shouldn't hang out with your girlfriend all the time with him. It doesn't mean now let me say this. It doesn't mean that your friend's going to steal her or do something wrong. But to do it often, and your friend is naturally good with women, it'll make you uncomfortable, and it could make for some uncomfortable situations. So if you're going to do, settings where you have barbecues and things like that, fine. But if you're going to bring your friend along to have drinks and he's single, right? He might not even know what he's doing, right? And so just be careful with that. That's what I would say. So how it went down counts, right? So get clear on that. Number three, if it hurts you, distance yourself from it. Don't try to change the reality of it. Don't go telling everyone how bad it is. Don't go saying, I think she was seeing him for a year. What you got to get to is the next one, which is number four, which is just to accept it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to forgive him or her or him, whatever. You don't have to do that, but you do have to accept reality. Okay. And so, but know that you still don't have to be friends with them. So don't try to play that game. And you could say, look, I just can't do it, man. Right? Its circumstances count. Number five, do not follow them on social media. It's just non-negotiable. Okay. If you're like, oh, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Take a break from social media. That'll absolutely crush you if you have to watch your ex-girlfriend on social media with your best friend. It's a double whammy. I've never had to do it before. I've never experienced it before. I've had friends that have hooked up with girlfriends before I hooked up with them, and it bothered me, but it had nothing to do with me. But here's what you really have to get in touch with. If she's single, and guys have a lot of trouble with this, she's allowed to see whoever she wants, and so are you. Now, is it crummy? Is it fucked up that your friend chose your girlfriend? Sure. Like I said, how it went down counts. That being said, you do have some power in the situation, and you are absolutely okay with just cutting off your best friend for a little while because it hurts you. Don't fake that it's okay, though. And do not follow them on social media at all. At all. B's on the mic. B, do you have any takes on this? Has this happened to you before?
Yeah, when I was like probably 16.
When you were 16, this happened to you?
Yeah, like probably 16, 17, probably like that age range, I want to say.
Your best friend stole your girlfriend?
Not stole my girlfriend, but we'd already broken up for, I want to say, 6 months maybe. Yeah, 6 months, something like that. And then they just started, dating.
Hooking up,
whatever.
All right, let me ask you some questions about this because this was a long time ago. 16, it's
Yeah.
over almost 20 years ago. Man, time flies, huh? So you're 6 months out, you're like, whatever. Not even a big deal to you.
Like you said, I ended it with her, so it wasn't like he swooped in like when we were still dating or something like that. But yeah, so
it still bothered you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When he first hooked up with her, did he just tell you?
Can't remember how I found out. It might have been like something like a mutual friend of ours told me about it. And
so he didn't tell you?
No, I think it was like going behind my back, and that's what.
But for 6 months she wasn't with you.
No, yeah, definitely. So she was.
So let me ask you.
But it was like the first girl that I'd really like hung out with and hooked up with. It was like 15, 16, I think we were. So it was like I was really young and immature.
The years of peach fuzz.
Yeah. So yeah.
So if let's just say it was a random dude. Right? It's the high school quarterback. It's, whatever. Would you have cared as much?
Not at all.
Because it was not just your friend, but like your best friend.
It was like my best friend that, and the thing that I think hurt me the most at the time, and this is probably, it would change now, but like, it was the going behind the back that I found out through like other mutual friends type of thing. That's what kind of hurt me.
Here's an interesting question, if you can remember. When you were with her, was he like, damn, she's tight? Or was he like, yeah, I would never hook up with her? What was his take on her when you were with her?
I think it was probably like, oh, she's cool. Like, I didn't get any vibes ever that like,
Do you know what I mean by that?
When we were dating or whatever, I never got any vibes that like, oh, they were like going to try to hook up or anything like that. Like, I never felt that. But then later I saw it like when we would all hang, like we were still close and we had a bunch of mutual friends and stuff, so we would always be hanging out, and I could see it like a little bit, probably like 6 months, 7 months later, and then I found out eventually.
So what was the feeling? Betrayal from him, or like, you're playing with my toy now, I want it back?
Betrayal for sure. Like, you're lying to me, or like, you didn't tell me this, or like
But you didn't have any claim to her because she was single.
Absolutely,
so why do you think?
Absolutely not.
So why do you think you were upset about it?
It was more, I think, the more of like you're going behind my back type of thing.
But you're not with her anymore, so why would it? Do you think there's an element of like, and she's mine?
Yeah. Well, also too, I was, like I said, I was pretty young and immature, so like
I think it's common with most people, though.
Yeah. True.
I think even if you were in your 20s and you had a friend, that I don't know. It's one of those things I've just never done.
I've never gone.
Here's what's interesting about it, right? If you look at it too, right? You've probably had some friends over the years where you're like, damn, his girlfriend's cool. Because you hang out.
Yeah.
Because you hang out.
I really like this girl. Like, she's actually
like, you're not going to do something.
Right.
I've only had a few where I've been like, man, his girlfriend, I like his girlfriend. Like, he got a good girlfriend, man. Because like I said, you get to know the girl, like at a barbecue or around friends. And especially like in high school or college, when the girl could hang out with your guy friends and just be cool and not be annoying or whiny or selfish. I remember there was like one of my friends, I always thought like, man, she's cool, man. But I would never, they broke up years later and I would run into her and stuff like that. I would never, because that to me, that was his girlfriend.
Right.
I think it counts how long you were together in some dude's front. You know what I mean?
Like it's not.
Oh, I never liked her,
Yeah, right.
or I got
Right,
old
right.
quick. Like I know, especially guys in their 20s, like when they break up, they're like, "Oh yeah, I was over it." They'll make dirty comments, like they don't care. I've seen that many times.
I also thought too, probably in the back of my mind, since I was the one that broke up and like didn't want to continue the relationship, I was like, probably in the back of my head thinking, oh, maybe she'll be there like in 6 months, like I'll be able to, because she wanted to stay in the relationship, and so it's one of those things. Do you know what I mean?
You thought you had your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, like probably one of those things where I was like, oh, I can get back together with
Yeah.
her eventually or something like that.
That's common, man.
You know?
That's common.
Yeah.
I mean, so what did you end up doing? You stayed friends?
Yeah, but not
And you
as
had a talk?
close. Yeah, we definitely had a talk, but it wasn't for a while. I want to say it wasn't. We weren't as close, and it never. I think it kind of did affect our relationship for sure. But we still were friends and cool. It wasn't like a huge thing.
Like I said, the way it went down counts.
Right.
At the same time, you're like, you can't get too angry because you're not together.
I think it would have been way worse if like she would have broke up with me initially, and I would have been like really hurt.
If you look
or
at,
something. I don't know.
if you look at high school though, because like you said, that's the group you hang out with. There wasn't
yeah.
dating apps when you were in high school.
No, not at
right.
all.
So like you're not.
And social media was just like we had MySpace, I think.
And
at the
like I
time, so-
said, this is more common than you think. Is familiarity. I read this in a spy book called The Like Switch. It's a good book, and they were saying the way that they get assets is to just actually find out where the potential spy, or what should I say, asset is, and just be in there, like go to the grocery store they go to, be on the corner, and keep walking by them.
Oh, so like you're gaining familiarity with them.
Familiarity, but also safe. Think about that. So
right.
think about this for a minute, because I've lived in the same area and neighborhood, and you've been with me where I live, and I know everyone.
I see that person. Yeah.
Right? And I don't know them,
Yeah.
but I've lived here for so long. You probably have neighbors like this, right? And you're like, oh, Mrs. Johnson, she's nice, but you're not really friends with her, but you know each other. You do something for her if something went down, because familiarity over the years, over the months, you know that person, you're comfortable with them, it's attractive. You know they don't have a gun. You know they're not out to get you. They smiled. They said hello a few times.
Right.
It makes you at ease. And so this is a part of what built attraction in the past. A lot of people just go, oh, yeah, attraction's not a choice, which is true. Attraction, in the first 10 seconds, which is very true. But I do think attraction can be developed deeper. You can be attracted to someone over time, like that you work with. I think that's definitely true. Someone can grow on you.
Oh yeah.
So this happens more than you think. I mean, it's just more common than you think. Anyone in the comments, have you ever had this happen where you had a friend? Like I said, I've just had one situation where the girl I was with had hooked up with one of my friends prior to,
Okay.
but not in a
Not.
long-term relationship, but they had hooked up, numerous times years prior. So, and there was nothing. It bothered me when I was in my 20s though. And my friend didn't do anything wrong.
But you'd found out about it
I knew.
late. Oh, it's okay.
I
so-
knew, but it was like they just hooked up like
Right.
you would, hook up, and I knew the type of friend my friend was. And he had hooked up with other friends, girlfriends prior to. He was good with women,
so
man.
it's
Yeah.
That was his thing.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
But it did affect us hanging out more. Like we wouldn't hang out as much.
Because
It would
there's just
be a-
something there.
It'd be a little awkward, yeah. Like that he had, because it was my girlfriend.
Right.
So and you got to make that apparent. Like I said, to act fake about it is kind of hard to do. Now it wouldn't bother me as much, but there are certain friends that, and I would say the friends that are players that brag about, like there's a guy I know, friend of a friend, that is always bragging about cheating on his wife, right? And also, like, he's cheating with other women that are married. So
he's
someone's like,
cheating
oh my
on-
God, this happens all the time.
He's cheating on his wife with other married. Okay.
And a variety of women.
Right,
He's
right,
just
Right.
right? He's proud of it, right? It's fine. He's got some funny stories sometimes. But don't bring him around your girlfriend. Do you think it would be different? Do you know what I mean? That's what he does. That's
what he does.
That's what he's into. That's his.
Right.
That's some guys do it for sport. It's a hobby. It's fun. That's what he does. So, it's not to say that it would land well with your girl, but it's probably like you're gonna pick up like, are you fucking hitting on my girl, dude? Or are you giving her a little wink, a little smile on the side?
You know a little behind the scenes.
Well, you can't turn it off, right?
Yeah,
like that's his identity. So, all right. So I have a few short question stories. Like I said, some of them are coming in a lot shorter. We made some shorts earlier this week that kind of popular, I guess, more views. Everyone's getting more into that. But like I said, if you have a story out there, feel free to send it in. Or a question, go ahead and drop it in the live stream today, and I'll get into this first one. Coach Mac, please help me. Whenever I see that in the first line, I always think needy. I think you're in a bad position when you're like, please help me.
Like, please.
Please. I've had people like, I've done everything, I'm dying. And those are the people I'm like, well, you've dug a deeper and deeper hole. What happened? I can't get my ex out of my head. She's been seeing my best friend for 2 years now, and I'm still friends with my best friend. So that's a choice. I just talked about that earlier. That's a choice that you've made. You think that you had to stay friends with your best friend. I'm thinking that if you can't get it out of your head, but you're playing an act that you don't really like, what are you doing it for? And why are you you don't have to make a big deal out of it. Just if it hurts you, stop being friends with him. Best friends are not that difficult to make. I act like it's no big deal and I'm over it, but inside it makes me sick. Well, there's your answer right there. So you're in the jail cell, but you have the key. So this idea that you don't have any choice, you do. Let your best friend go. They've been together for 2 years. And if you want to have a talk with them and sit down and go, like, I just can't take this anymore. You could do that route, or you could just not talk to him anymore. And my friend treats it like it's just another notch on his belt. Well, that's even worse. He's seeing multiple women and playing her. So you're going to be the white knight in shining armor and save your ex that I'm assuming broke up with you, the way you're talking right here. This is why if your ex moves on, if you can stay off of social media and not keep tabs on her or ask friends, it's great. I mean, you just don't want to know. He's seeing multiple women and playing her. Well, that's her prerogative. Maybe maybe she still likes seeing him. She's no longer your priority. I've thought about telling her, but I don't know how serious they are. Do not tell her. B, would you tell her?
No.
Do not tell her, because number one, if she doesn't care, you're going to feel like shit even more. Number two, if she does care, now you've stirred up a shitstorm. Your friend that is just a notch on your belt is going to be like, damn, dude, you're pathetic. Like, really? I never knew you were this upset over this. And if she's just one in the stable, he's gonna, anything that comes up about her, it's going to hurt you even more. So the reality is here, you got to reframe the story here. She's not wanting to have a monogamous relationship with you. It's not personal. Maybe she wants to be with a guy that is seeing other women. He doesn't really give me details, but last week I ran into them both eating out and I had to leave and then proceeded to cry in my car. All right, so if you cried in your car, you know what? That's okay. You have hurt feelings, you're upset. Don't do it in public. Get your feelings out. How do I get over this and just move on? Well, stop acting like it's okay. Number one. Okay, so stop acting like I'm going to still be friends with him. If it's not okay with you, it's been 2 years, you have a couple options. Like I said, have a sit down. Go, hey, dude, this shit still bothers me. Like, and you could even ask him questions. I don't know how good of friends you are. But otherwise, you could also just slide out of the best friendship. Mm-hmm. Now, saying that, I'm one of those people. I've lived in 4 different places, different countries, different cities. I have a variety of best friends over the years. Mm-hmm. I know people. I've had a client recently, like, best friends since they were kids, lived on the same block, went to every school together. Like, that's like a bro, like a brother.
That's a bro.
Right? Mm-hmm. I had friends in high school. My high school that I went to, like, there was a group of them. They all grew up, went all to the elementary, middle school, high school together. They were, like, I don't have a lot of those because I've moved around. So I'm like, someone's my best friend. I don't even really call people my best friend, to be honest, at this age. Do you do that?
No, not really.
Do you know what I mean?
Like
I've
when I was younger.
Yeah, I just don't identify with it. Right. So what you could do is like just take away that identity of this is my best friend to like, man, he's a really good friend. I have other good friends, and take out that weight of it is what I would say. Why do you have to label it your best friend when you get to adulthood? I don't know what age, but like I said, there's some people they grew up with someone and they stayed friends since they were like fucking 5.
Right.
Okay, but you could take away that title of best friend and just be like, he was a good friend. I just can't hang out with him. And it sounds like your morals and values don't line up. The fact that he's just sport fucking your girl. And that what I just said is very harsh. And you might have been like, what? That's what you have to hear. Right. And it's upsetting you. And you're like, it's my friend. It's not fair. It's not right. It's upsetting me. It's like, remove yourself from the situation, dude. You don't want to see anything on social media.
Yeah, could you just do like no contact with both of them, just the friend and, I mean, if it's, something that he wanted to do?
Yeah, depending on his friendship with his friend, he could have a sit down and tell his friend. Right. I mean, his best friend, like, this dude, this is really, like, be honest.
Be honest, yeah.
But do not sit there and tell him he can't do it anymore or he's an asshole.
Just tell him,
You're just telling him how you feel and what you're seeing. Like, this is your, because the reality, if you've been broken up for 2 years, she's not coming back.
2 years.
Right? Yeah. So if you're spun over the fact you're with my best friend, just eliminate the idea that he's even a best friend anymore. Because when you say that, if I'm going to give someone the title best friend, and I don't really use the title best friend, but if I was, I'd say you lost that fucking title when you went out with my ex-girlfriend, dude.
The best friend like relationship comes over, anything.
Like that would be you erased one of the qualifications. Right. Don't hook up with my girlfriends.
Right.
So this is a situation why you have narratives. Okay, you have storylines. This is the whole premise why I say to write out your story. You have these storylines that you build. What was my best friend? Yeah. Can you remove him as your best friend? Can you just call him a friend? And then it wouldn't be so heavy. It's just a narrative. Well, we've known each other since we were kids. Yeah, okay, I'm with you. Well, he just showed you who he was. Right. But the reality is he probably has a story where he's like, dude, this girl wasn't even worth it. I've been hooking up with her on the side. She wasn't going to stay with you anyways. And you told me you were okay with it. You acted like it was cool. So how am I supposed to know? Right? So what I would say is if you're still having trouble with it, book a session, go to writemac.com. Let's air it out, man. You got to get the thing is when you've been 2 years, you need to air that out for like 2-3 hours because there's some twists and turns to this that you're not telling me. It's not just about, oh, this is my best friend. Because you didn't say he stole her from you. He's seeing her. And like I said, it's more common than you think. So I would say book a session and get clear on why it is because there's deeper stuff to this. Sometimes, with friends, this is an interesting thing. There's people that get in fights with their friends all the time and relive narratives of like, oh, I never have good friends, and then they create fights because when they were a little kid, their best friend fucking did them wrong. I have a friend like that. I remember I was like, why are you one of my best friends at one time was more of college roommate. So it's like roommates are different.
Definitely.
If you have a roommate, it's like you become family. If you live together for a year or two, it's different. It's thick and thin. And I remember like he would just be so standoffish with people. Like when he first met him, he was a dick and he'd be rude to him and he wouldn't let people in very easily. A very smart guy. And I was like, why do you, I asked him one time, I was like, why are you like that, dude? And he was like, dude, when I was like 11 years old, one of my best friends stole from my house, like stole stuff from my dad's, I forgot what it was, something valuable. And then he's like a year later had the same thing happen with a different friend.
So
he's like, I don't trust people that well that are good friends, that are like friends at first. That makes sense. Now I know why, but he was replaying that in his head over and over again.
Right.
All right, let's get to, I have a couple other things on deck here. Hey coach, my girlfriend left me 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure why. We've been together for over 2 years. we live together. See, right when you say I'm not sure why, let's talk about that. We can figure it out real quick. Something you're ignoring something. Yeah. If I was in a live coaching session, I'd go, just give me a guess of why.
Yeah.
Just give me a guess of why. And we could go from there, and you'd go, well, I don't think it's this because I don't want to believe this.
Right.
But if you've lived together or been together for 2 years, you probably know better than I do. We lived together, and then she got a new job 3 months ago and complained about the drive and said she may move out to be closer to work, but that she didn't invite me to move with her. Is that normal? Well, first of all, relationships, I don't see anything as being normal. Mm-hmm. Because society now in most places is not following any norms, in the Western world at least. So the idea, like, is this normal? Is this not normal? I'm going to tell you this: it's not good.
Mm-hmm. Because they'd previously lived together before.
Yeah, you're
right?
in a 2-year relationship. You live together,
Yeah.
and she's talking about getting her own place,
Yeah.
and she didn't invite you. My question would be like, why would you have to be invited?
Yeah.
Like, if that conversation came up, it would be like, oh, like let's.
That's just a given.
So you're leaving something out here. This is why these shorter stories or questions, they leave a lot out sometimes. Asked if we should look at places together. So you asked her, so she's running the show. You're in her frame. She said no. She'd prefer to have her own place and that it would be good for us. Plus, she hates my cat. Are you willing to get rid of the cat? Why does she hate the cat? Is she allergic to it? Circumstances count, right? I don't particularly like cats, especially if they were in a condo or something like that. I don't like the smell of it. I don't know if that would be a reason to break up with a girl or not live. It could be a reason to not live with someone if they're not
cat
dutiful.
people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the smell and stuff.
Yeah.
Like cat litter boxes is disgusting to me, right? Some other people are like, oh, they're cute. It's like, ugh. If you have a house and they can get out in the yard. Now, saying that, you live together for 2 years. I mean, what I would say if I could rewind the clock is I would say you asked her, should we look together? That just tells me there's already a problem in the relationship that you're asking her.
That's just a weak move.
Right. So she'd prefer to have her own place, and that would be good for us. Plus, she hates the cat. Then 2 weeks ago, she said she found a new place, and she thought it was best if we broke up, as she's just not feeling in love any longer. So you knew this going probably. He said, I knew things weren't as fresh and exciting, but I wasn't expecting a breakup. Do you think she's seeing someone else? I have no idea if she's seeing someone else. It's a possibility. The idea that that's in your head already, there's what you just said was the problem. It's not fresh and exciting anymore. That's the problem. And whether that's your fault or the relationship just ran its course or you're growing in different directions, there could be a variety of reasons for that. But the idea that you're like, oh my God, this is surprising. Not really. If she didn't invite you to go, how do I get her back? I'd have to know more about your story, but I would say that you're not going to get her back anytime soon. And one of the biggest themes, if you live together, so if you live together, and then you break up and you move places, it's very hard to get back to living together. So to me, it's like once you move out after living together for a couple years, you're not going to get back anytime soon, because that's a bond that kept you through thick and thin. And then now it's like, it's so different that it would take a month, 2 months, depending on what went down and why, that people, but that being said, she could miss you. So I would say that, number one, accept the breakup as best you can.
Give it some time.
Don't go, oh my God, I'll get rid of the cat. Oh my God, like, if I do this, and this, will you take me back? Don't do that. You know what you say? Okay. I mean, she's not saying a whole lot here. You're not saying a whole lot. That's why I like a little bit more of a detailed story, so then I can break it down with you. But it's not new and exciting anymore. There's been a few guys over the years that have talked to me, and I could just tell by when we talk in our coaching session, I'm like, you don't even seem excited about guys just get into the fee-fi-fo. I want to have sex. I don't want a lot of drama. I don't want to do a lot of things. And then they're like, I don't know. It was weird. She said that I only care about intimacy or sex. It's like, is it true?
Sounds like it's true.
You've been playing a lot of video games. You know, I mean, but to assume that she's just seeing someone else, is it a possibility? Sure. But you just got to accept that, man. Go into no contact, and once someone moves out, she's in the lease. She's not going to move back. But like I said, I need to know a little bit more info to give a little bit more advice on that. Truth to love. Betrayal is a touchy thing for most people to swallow. It sucks being betrayed like that by someone you consider close. Yeah, I think betrayal is one of those things. It might trigger a betrayal in your past. Betrayal is not one of those things that I haven't had it happen to me too many times. But I think a lot of it's related to what happened to you when you were young.
Yeah.
And so if someone, your best friend betrayed you when you were young, you get sensitive to that. I had a friend like that told you the story before. I didn't go to his birthday party, and we're in our late 30s, and he was like, "You're my best friend," this, that. And it's just like, what?
You were just...
I was shocked. I was just like, what is this all about, man? I didn't want to go.
Well, you and I are the same about, like, we don't really care too much about birthdays,
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. I was like, I don't want to drink. I had reasons.
You had actual reasons.
Yeah, I don't want to drink. I don't want a couple of people that were there I didn't want to hang out with.
Okay.
So it was wasn't personal.
Legitimate. Yeah.
But it was, come to think about it, he had been betrayed by a few friends when he was young, and he took it really personal.
Right.
Because he was like, "You're my best friend." And for me, I'm like, I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends that I consider on the level of being a best friend. So, it also wouldn't hurt me if I had a birthday party and you didn't come and you had your reasons. I wouldn't hold it against you. I wouldn't be upset with you. Right? I wouldn't say that that's my fault. I completely agree. My betrayal usually leads to emotional flashbacks from child. Yeah. So
definitely, yeah.
It's actually an opportunity if you feel that, like where you're like, I got betrayed. It's like, when have you had that happen before? If it's really strong, and you're probably bringing up something from before, and then the fact that you just know what it is from when you were young kind of helps you go, oh shit, that's where that's from. And then you just try to relive it over again. And now I know what you're doing. It's like, nah, I just didn't want to go to your party, man. So it happens that way. Why to suffer over someone who doesn't want you? Many questions here. I think what happens when you're in these breakup situations, it's not so much who doesn't want you. It's when people feel like, I don't know why, or I didn't see this coming because I was comfortable. There's a lot of guys that are comfortable. What I mean by that, it's like, yeah, things aren't great right now, but I'm okay. I can tell she's a little irritated and she's sleeping with me less, but I'm okay.
I'm good.
Like, I'm fine. And then the hammer just gets dropped. And he's like, what? We're going to break up. We didn't even talk about this. And he's kind of wondering. And the ironic thing is, guys will go, well, if I just knew why, I'd be fine. I'm like, no, not really. Do you know what I mean? If this guy finds out that she's seeing someone else, it's not going to make him feel better. Might make him feel worse. And then he's like, well, then I could just get over it. It's not going to be that simple. It's going to be hard any way you dice it. Breakups suck sometimes. Going to Chile. What's up, Skinner? Breaking young hearts. Life is good. Doing one project. Horses digital tracking in Switzerland till end of the year. Wow.
Nice.
All right, so I got another one here. Hey, Coach, I got a crazy story. My ex-husband, who I wish I never met. Well, you can't go back in time. Michael J. Fox was the last person to do that, right?
Think so, yeah.
Has been following me on all social media apps with burner accounts. How do you know?
Yeah, wait, I was just thinking, how do you know?
We've been split up for over a year. I'm seeing someone new. What a pathetic thing to do, huh?
To create burner accounts to look, yeah.
I'm sure it happens a lot, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bent, yeah.
We've been split up for over a year. I'm seeing someone new, and I know this is eating him up. I'll admit that I don't really care, as he was caught cheating on me multiple times. I've never felt better. I'm really enjoying my new partner, but how do I shake my ex off social media accounts? He uses false names and posts some foul comments all the time. And sometimes he'll erase it and disappear for a while. He also calls me and hangs up all the time. Any thoughts? Well, this is going to probably surprise you, but why not change your phone number for one?
That's a definite one.
I've known someone that told me about this before, and they were like, "Oh, change my number," and I'm like, "Yeah, and tell all your friends that you care about that you changed your number." That takes care of one. And then the other one, couple things: take a break from social media yourself. Start a new account for social media yourself after you take a break. Maybe take a month. Take a sabbatical from social media unless you need it for work.
Make sure all your stuff's
so
private.
he doesn't have a place to find you. And then start up under a new handle or whatever when you want to start back up in a month. But to sit here and just, the other thing is you can call them up and go, "Hey, I know these are your burner accounts." It sounds like where there's a will, there's a way. Maybe he's being clever. Confront him on it directly. I don't know, depending on where you're at in the world, if you get the police involved in this, because I'm sure like they're like, "Oh, this is
probably
how can you prove it?" But those are the things that come off the top of my head that I would say is just take a break for a little while, but do not engage with, "I know it's you, Todd." You know, like the minute you engage with him, then he's got you. So I'd say if you could not reply to his stuff, he's going to get old to him. So if you just let it go and not reply, but if he's saying nasty things or mean things, take a month off and start a new name, or confront him on it directly. Don't confront him on social media. Go, "Look, what is this? What do you want to get from this?" Sounds like he's too immature to handle a conversation like that. But I don't know enough about the
whole story.
No, how to block social media, but I'm sure there's, like, when you have someone like that that you can't get rid of or something. I don't know, but I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way. Man, but I would say take a break for a month and see how you feel about it. Southern intuition, let them have each other. Okay. My ex seeing my best friend, you mean?
Just let them
have each other. Why not? Hold on a second here. So I had this question from a Mr. Ronnie Dunn. In your expert opinion, well, thanks for calling me an expert. Would you say that my ex is in a rebound? I don't really think it's based on how they got together and how good this new person is for her. It's a good question. Good channel. I have no idea if your ex is in a rebound. And you know what? You don't know if it's a rebound until 6 months down the road when they break up. So this is a big question, though. Is people go, "Oh, they're just in a rebound." Just stay out of your ex's new relationships altogether. If you want to make a couple foul comments like "the guy's a dickhead," "the guy's a jerk," and then just catch yourself and go, "What am I doing? I'm a fucking spectator. I'm a guy in the cheap seats going, yeah, look at this bum, look at this." It's like it doesn't make you look good. It doesn't do anything for you moving forward. And the minute you start, it's like if you could step out of yourself for a minute and go, "What am I doing?" It's like if it's a rebound or it's not a rebound, it doesn't really matter. They're with someone else. The idea of labeling it one way or another, you think it's going to make you feel better. They're with someone else regardless. What if I said, "No, it's not a rebound, man. They're going to be together for the next 7 years."
Does that make you feel better?
I mean, there's not really a classification in the Webster's dictionary for rebound either. So someone could go on and on and on about this. There's movies about it that are totally fake. There's a movie with, I think, Catherine Zeta-Jones, like The Rebound or something like that. And it's just, people see stuff like that. It's just not how relationships unfold. Now, here's what I do know. People that have a lot going for them post-breakup, whether that's looks, money,
career, whatever,
charisma, personality, they're popular anyways, right? They usually meet someone faster than other people. Surprise, surprise. And someone goes, "Oh, it's a rebound." It's like, no, they actually have options as soon as they hit the fucking door. Right? I've had clients like that. I'm like, you're going to have, doesn't mean that they're excited or they're not hurt post breakup. It just means that don't be surprised. Now there's other people you're like, wow, they just fell into this relationship because they're lonely and this guy doesn't care about them. You know what? Well, that's their consequence. They're going to have to figure it out. But there's people I know that they can meet someone a week later and marry them and be together for 10, 15 years. So you don't know. You don't know. And it's none of your... It's an extremely biased opinion on your... And your biased is, I want them to break up for me. I want it to be bad for her. And it's like, well, what's that really going to do for you? Because look at it this way, right? Let's say you have an ex-girlfriend, B, and she has a quote-unquote rebound. She's with a new guy, and you think the guy is just like, she's not going to stay with him. He's this, he's that. I look better. I'm this, whatever. 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, she calls you up. She broke up with that guy. Are you attracted to her more?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't it lose points that she was with some other dude that you didn't like? Rebound or not rebound? I mean, just the fact that she was with some other guy in between is hard for guys to deal with. Guys just don't... That's why guys generally say, that's my girl. You talk about your girlfriend? That's my girl. A lot of guys... Why is that? Women don't say that as much. My man. They can. They just don't say it as much.
Right.
It's not as possessive. Right. So I'm saying, even if it is a rebound, even if they break up and she comes back to you, it's still not going to be ideal, because you're still going to be out going, oh, I know that was just a rebound. You don't want any tabs on what's going on. Eliminate that. So the idea that you're even at the door going, is it a rebound? First of all, I can't tell. I don't have all the details. I'd have to talk to her. I'd have to talk to the guy. I go, yep, this is probably one of those situations that'd be a rebound. But I'll be honest with you, I don't really believe in labeling those, because I don't think it does you any well. I mean, if your girl's halfway good looking, there's guys waiting on the sidelines. And if she works in a public place, or she works with numerous guys, she's going to get hit on as soon as she's, and I've said this before. In a workplace, a crying woman, or a woman that's just broken up, and I've seen them before, years before I was a coach, you're like, what's wrong with Susie? Looks like there's been a death in the family. No, she just broke up. Oh, okay. Right? And before I had a bad breakup in my late 20s, I never had one before that. I was like, what's the big deal? And then you're like, oh, I understand now.
Oh, wait, now I know.
Got air pumped through your heart. So she's like that, right? Some guy will go, hey, you want to get lunch and talk about it and stuff like that? And in his mind, he'll be like, opportunity. Now, if a guy comes to work and he's beside himself and you're like, what's wrong with John? He looks like, he looks really sad. A woman's not going to take him to lunch and go opportunity. She's going to maybe pity him. Oh, John, it's okay. She'll be back. Don't worry about it, hon. You'll be better off. She won't be attracted to that.
She's not like, this is my chance to hook up.
No, she won't be attracted to that. She'll feel sorry for him maybe, but she won't be like, oh, this is my opportunity. Where a guy that's, at the bottom of the pecking order, oh, you know what? I'll go out and have lunch with you and I'll pay. You need to talk again.
Yeah.
Right? You know exactly what I mean, dude.
Yeah.
It's like Wounded on the Savannah. Oh, you miss your boy. Oh my God, yeah, he's a jerk. If you ever need to talk about it, women won't do that as much. They'll be like, okay, yeah, but it won't be attractive. A guy will be like, oh, you're crying over your ex? Opportunity. Yeah, that's a big one, though. I think it's a rebound my ex is in. Really? Why would you even think that? You shouldn't even... It shouldn't even be on your agenda. Let's see here. I had a few other... Man, Sabina says, we can talk about it in my bed. Yeah. Oh, yes. I call them circling sharks. Attractive, successful people always have people circling and waiting for the... Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, if you're going out with a quote unquote catch, I won't use the word high value man, which has been just
way overused.
invented into a term of like, well, I'm a high, like, so who decides if you're a high value or not? Right? It's just what's happened on a lot of these premier channels is they've created like Chads and Tyrones and high value and all these terms that are just made up, equivalent of like super figure characters with no defined definition. And they get rid of all the nuance in people. Haven't you ever met, like we've talked about this before, haven't you met someone that defied the odds and you're like, damn, dude, this guy... Remember in high school there was a couple guys that got girls that were not good looking, that were not over 6 foot, that just had personality and balls. And I was like, you'd go like, he's with her?
He pulled her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psst. Oh, it's impossible now. Says who? You? Believe what you want. So here's a couple of short questions I grabbed. Coach Mac, I've been single for 2 years now, and I'm tired of it. My breakup was bad, and now I'm over it. Are you really over it, or would you be writing me? I don't want my ex back. I don't have feelings for him. I'm just lonely and haven't met someone that excites me. I've had a few casual hookups. What do you recommend I do? Okay. Well, what I would recommend is have an honest self-assessment of like where you're at as an individual right now. So you're lonely, you're on your own. I would say, what's your confidence level going into dating? Do you feel like you're not enough? Do you feel like you're not good looking? Do you feel like you're overweight? I'd have to talk to you about this. And then go to work on those areas. If you feel like you're ready to date, you're single and ready to mingle, and you're just having trouble with dating apps and that whole dynamic, then like I've said before, change the places that you're hanging out in.
Change it up.
Yeah, and figure out what you want. You want a boyfriend or you want casual hookup or... but don't give up. But ask yourself, is there some kind of mental block that's, like I said, the classic one is, well, I don't feel like I'm very good. Like I've had a client before that was dieting, lost all this weight, and he was like, I still have stretch marks, something I've never dealt with in my own life. So I don't know a lot about that. Like he lost all this weight, and I was like, fucking outstanding, man. And he was like, but I still have like these stretch marks. Like he had this insecurity about his looks for years, right? So work on that. Not just your looks, but like, where's that coming from? That's an issue, because what you're doing is, even if you meet someone that's a good contender for your love or your affection, you're going to sabotage it because you're like, oh, my stretch marks are my thing. So what's on your end holding you back? Because like I said earlier, people that have a lot going, or they're in a really good place, in 2 years they'll eventually meet someone. Whether that's long term or short term. The fact that you're completely over the guy and not looking. Also, you could say, yeah, it's been 2 years, but it took you a year or a year and a half, and now you're just feeling like, I'm finally ready. And now that you're ready, you're like, where are they? Don't get too anxious. You're still gonna have to go on some bad dates. You're still gonna have to go on some dates where you're like, wow, this person's a no. There's a lot of value in being able to eliminate who you don't want, and that's part of the process, because it's not the movies. So here's one. What's your take on no contact when your ex keeps calling you once every couple days, but never wants to meet up and just wants to be friends? You got a choice there. So you know your ex better than I do. But if you don't want to be friends, don't be friends. Don't be fake friends. Don't be covert friends. And why would they want to be friends with you? That's a good question to ask. Well, they keep doing it. It's like, why do they want to be friends with you? You know better than I do. They want to borrow money? Do they just want to cry on your shoulder about work? I've had a client before. It's like, dude, we're together off and on. I don't want to hear about our workplace anymore because we don't sleep together anymore. It's like, he just told me his trade-off.
Right.
Right? I'm not going to deal with her crap anymore if we're not intimate. So you got to be honest with yourself. What are you hoping for by being friends? And then the other thing I've said to people before, like, sometimes you just need to meet up. if you're gonna go that friends route, which I don't recommend, you still need to meet in person. If you're gonna be like hour long on the phone and stuff like that, you're really, because sometimes attraction could be stirred back up by being in person. So that's the thing about that. But once you start agreeing to be friends when you don't want to, it just twists you up because you're lying. You're lying to yourself, and that hurts you. And you think like, and then you start getting bitter, right? You start getting more and more bitter. Have you ever stayed friends with an ex?
I mean, not like really good friends, but we like hung out, had again like mutual, friends and stuff like that. So,
but she wasn't
like,
serious, so you didn't care. She got pounded by someone else.
No, I mean maybe.
Just joking with you. So this wasn't the same one that got hooked up with your friend?
No. There's been a couple where like we would see each other more than just
It depends on how close you were. Like if you were full on serious boyfriend girlfriend, to me, like you need a period where you don't hang out, even if it's mutual friends. It's like someone's gonna have to bite the mutual friend thing. It sucks. People in college have a lot of trouble with it because there's such a like a mutual friend base.
Right. And I've had the same house parties and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I've had clients like that. I'm like, look, if it hurts you, just take a break. You have a right to take a break. You're not being weak, but like if you can't be around it, because usually someone's more stronger than the other person, whoever chose to break up, and it's more hard.
It might be, the situation too, like if you're just, not hooking up with anyone at the time or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you're just sitting there, home alone, might be a little harder.
Right.
If you're hooking up with a bunch of chicks and then you see your ex, it probably is not going to be that big a deal.
Right. There's all kinds of scenarios to it. But yeah, I've had a couple clients in college that they were like, and she's, I see her all the time. I'm like, can you hang out somewhere else or just take a break? It's hard. It's hard sometimes. But I've tried to stay friends with exes before. It's never worked for me.
It's hard.
Why didn't it work for you, Rye? Because they tried to
get back in.
Hey, do you mind if I just stay the night?
Yeah. Right.
But I don't want to sleep on the couch. Is that okay with you? Comes in waves. They might be stronger initially, but you will integrate the pain and grow more than you can. Then you can handle being around them better, and they may try to hide to avoid the awkwardness. So Riflin says, yeah, pretty much. So let me ask you this. As a female, why would you, knowing that they want to get back with you, why do you present the friends option? Because to me, I'm like, deep down, he wants you back. He's panting. What can I do?
We're still close. We're still a little close.
And you're like, okay, I'll take the validation. Sure. I'm not with someone else right now, but it feels good to have you want me. Yeah. And for me to go, nah.
Not right now.
Feels good. That's what, I think that subconsciously is what is like, man, well, if you still want to be around, it's fine. But, once I meet someone else, you'll be gone. And the fact that you want to stick around just validates why I don't want to be with you anymore. That's what's really hard. For the hardest thing, clients I have that are hard workers, high achievers, talked about this before, they have a lot of trouble, man. Because they're like, I can't do no contact. I got to go to work on this.
That's doing nothing, right?
I got to go to work on this, man. Like, I can't let this go.
I got to be active here.
Give me the playbook, Mac. I'm like, if she broke up with you, you think that you're going to work hard at this and get an A or get a raise? It's not the same game. It's actually the hard work is saying, c'est la vie, saying, cool. I tried to stay friends because I was weak to cut things off without feeling bad. Oh, pity. See, I've talked about this before. It's very underrated how often, and men can have pity too. Pity can get someone back. That's a soft soul. Sure.
But it's not getting them back kind of the right way.
Well, it'll just lead to another breakup.
Right.
But the funny thing is guys will use it sometimes. They don't know they're using it. They get attention from it.
So that attention.
Yeah, and so they go, oh, this is working.
It's yeah.
It's like, it's not really working towards attraction. It's more working towards the equivalent of someone that's homeless in the street in rags asking for change, you don't go like, I want to hang out with that person long term. Why don't you do that? I mean, it wouldn't be bad to take that person to lunch, but you don't. You go, here's $5 or here's a couple bucks, or you have some sympathy if you heard their story maybe or something like that, but you're not attracted to that person. It's different. You're sympathetic. You have pity, and that's not what gets attraction juices going.
They're different. They're different feelings. Yeah.
No, it's like, have you ever had pity for the? Yeah. Have you ever dated someone and you're like, oh my God, I have so much pity for them.
I have so much pity for them.
But you have an ex and you have pity for them. Yeah, there's people I know that are like, I have pity sex. Really? Well, yeah. I'm like, you do get something from that though, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have any closing questions? We have Rye Flynn on deck. The Great Truth of Life. Which is Clutch, Sabina. Sounds like we got a biker gang out here. Oh. Southern Intuition, let them have each other.
I like it.
Why not? What's meant to be yours will be yours. That's a good question. Are relationships meant to be?
Meant to be.
Do you believe in that?
It's out into the ethos. Like
yeah. Do you think that? Do you believe in soulmates, B?
I was just thinking about that. I don't think like the spiritual, like there's a direct soulmate of mine or something like that. But I think there's probably a like small group of people. Like if you were to just not the one, but there's probably a small group of people or girls or women in the world that would match with me, like in a real, deep way. And I think that's probably, it varies with people, but
I just had a client recently, and this happens rarely, where when I asked him, like, what's your connection, what's your attraction, what's your trust, he's like, it was just all 10s. I was like, damn, dude, doesn't happen a lot.
That's out there, yeah.
Doesn't happen a lot. A lot of people go like, oh, like a 9 or an 8 or 7. He's like, it's all 10s. And this guy wasn't like, he's dated a few women and stuff like that. I was like,
Do you think there's some like soulmate?
No, and I'm pretty like I'm at the most spiritual part of my life with doing hypnotherapy and whatnot.
Yeah,
like I'm into synchronicities and different things like that. But I would say if soulmates were true, there's always more than one. I would say it with an S.
That's what I'm saying.
I would say that there are situations where. I would say that there are situations that are interesting how you meet someone. I mean, when you start to get more spiritual, like your synchronicities and different things like that, especially when you do more meditation, and I've been doing that a lot more recently, there's some ironic coincidences, but I think you could consider someone your soulmate, and then they could surprise you and you can go, wow,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, like, so does a soulmate mean there's going to be no problems? That's a different question. So, like, if you're like, oh my God, this person meets me on so many levels, well, stay tuned. Give it a couple of years. You like that one, right? It's like, in the first couple of years in the honeymoon phase, maybe you're like, oh my God, I fucking believe in soulmates and all this, like, ... And then, like, 4 years later, you're like, holy shit, she cheated on me and stole my car. It's like,
what a soulmate.
She's on crack. Like there's been many people that thought someone was their soulmate. Whether you believe that or not is really up to you. I think that me personally, I think that there's people that you connect with in a high level way. Yeah. I think there's some interesting times when you meet certain people in your life. That's pretty interesting. Like something to be said for that. But relationships they're intricate, man. There's a lot of moving parts, and
they're always changing. So
there's a big lack of control on either end, and that bothers people. And people change with their jobs and different things like that. And so I think it would probably be more apt in some of these smaller tribe classes and Native Americans and things like that to maybe, it's going to be in the future though. Like you have access to so many people. What if they had a dating app called Soulmates?
They probably do, I'm sure.
Where they were like, we've lined you up because of your birthday. That would probably do really well, actually.
No, they have to have a bunch of different factors.
Right? Like they would you're the year, I'm the year of the monkey, you know, like, well, I'll match you up with the year of the dragon and the year of the, like, I bet if they did that, that'd be pretty interesting because some people are very into that.
Oh, yeah.
There are people who can settle with and build a life with, and there are people who you connect with and to teach you a lesson. The two often get confused. That's a great way to put it.
That is.
I agree in the sense that
you can be happy and not like be quote unquote soulmates. Do you know what I mean? Like you can make it work.
I would say one of the toughest things right now, Clutch, is that I think that you can initially meet someone that you're like, okay, maybe we're 25, maybe we're 35, whatever.
And things align.
And keep in mind, my perspective of being a breakup coach, I don't get to see the people that last 25, 30, 40 years as much because they stay together, right?
Right?
But I would say that where it's headed, you meet someone you think you can build a life with. I think if you are able to, content's having a big effect on relationships, I think. So if you're able to hermitize yourself a little bit better, I think that would help things. But building life takes more than it probably took before because people are going to be more flighty,
distracted.
Like I said, even right now, the people in their 20s that are getting doused with, you know, the red pill narrative, and they're not red pill types, but then they're ruining their relationships.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, women are getting doused with their own, this is how it should be. But reality is your like, if I could punch one thing home, is like anything that you get about men are like this, women are like this, it's a generalization. And then if you impose it on your relationship as, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, this is what a lot of the content's doing, and then someone goes, oh, they're not doing what men or women are supposed to do, and it's like, well, what do you want in your relationship? Because a lot of what happens in your relationship is circumstantial, surprising, and we just talked about earlier, everyone has like some kind of little trauma or trigger from when they're young that gets shown up in a relationship. You're like, whoa. One of the biggest ones, I've talked about it before, I haven't talked about it in a long time because this was 3 or 4 years ago. This client, he was married, he was a good dude, still is a good dude as far as I know. I think they were married 9 or 10 years.
Long time.
Yeah, 9 or 10 years. They had 2 kids. He was a passionate father, like really into being a good dad.
Right.
And I think they had like a 3-year-old and they had a kid on the way. Mm-hmm. And she just had his mother, who by all accounts from what he told me was pretty good, but lived locally. She didn't want his mother to kiss the kids. Didn't want her giving the kids Christmas gifts. Didn't want them hanging out in private. And he was just shocked by all this. Like, what the fuck? She had been a little bit controlling about him with his family and like a little jealous early on, but nothing serious.
Where he would like, you know.
And then when we got into it, I'm like, well, what's her relationship with her mom? He's like, she fucking hates her mom. I'm like, all right. So did something happen? He goes, yeah, something happened, but she never wants to talk about it. But something dirty happened when she was young with some things and being left alone with some adults. I go, that's the problem. There's something from that triggering that situation, and she never got therapy, and he just kept going like, why are you like this? Why are you like that? And they ended up getting a divorce. And they were a great couple. He's like, dude, intimacy's outstanding. Like, everything was great. And then they had the kids, and they had that issue with the mom.
I mean, that's a big issue.
It's a big issue, and he didn't see it. My point is, everything he described about the relationship prior to that point was pretty damn good. They would be considered soulmates in a lot of ways.
And
like, they were together 10 years. He had a good business. He was happy to take care of her, like stay-at-home mom kind of a thing. Really good, like I said, really good dad. And she just couldn't put together that. Like, she probably would have needed to go to therapy, and he didn't really believe in doing that. And then it just transpired, like, it got worse. Like, she called the police on him, created story. I mean, it got dirty. It got dirty. Okay. It got really dirty. And then he eventually, while they were kind of in a gray area, cheated on her. And this is how things transpire. And that's the way it goes now. I think it's tough. It's tough. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's just my perspective as a breakup coach because I see one end, right? I don't see we've been together for 30 years and it's been the greatest relationship I've ever had. They probably aren't going to tell you about the times they almost broke up, though. Huh?
Sure.
Because people that stay together, they're like, there was a couple times.
If you're together for a long time,
there's got to be, right?
There's got to be.
Right? There's got to be times. My parents have been married 40 plus. There's multiple times.
It can't just be all.
Your content's helped me a lot. I realized I have so much work I need to do before I think about getting in a serious relationship again. Well, thanks, Rye. Well, let me know if you want to work on that. I'll help you. We'll do some hypnotherapy. B liked it. We'll do another session soon, huh?
Definitely.
To me, I mean, I like that better than just talk. Well, I could fucking talk, so.
You can talk.
I just had a session with a client for 3 hours, and we got to the hypnotherapy on the third hour, and it was 10 minutes for me. You believe me too, huh? You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're shaking.
Knowing you all these years, yeah.
I was like, all right, this is your first time doing it. I'm going through it. Going through it. Talk about it. I'm like, all right. And then we got to the hypnotherapy part. I looked up. I'm like, damn, it was 3 hours. It was 10 minutes for me.
That does not surprise me.
And it was a great session. She was like, wow, a lot of stuff that I didn't know popped up. I think even though people know about, myself included, like therapy and different things like that, you don't know, like, because there's obviously like PTSD, there's deep scars or wounds, like stuff. Where people have been assaulted or hurt, and those things are evident, right? Like people can't get through their jobs like that and stuff. But I think everyone has these little things and they hold you back in different places, myself included. And then when you start realizing that there's just these little seeds and little roots in different places, and you're like, it's the same thing. Like I said, you're scared of snakes or you're scared of spiders. Where does that even come from? Well, when I was young, my mom told me this, and now I'm like scream when I see a spider. It's like, why do you need to do that?
My mom couldn't even like watch a snake on TV. Like she'd have to look away. So it must have been something like that where
I think that one might be one of those things that's embedded in humans.
Maybe.
But at the same time, why are some people like, I remember dating this girl, we went on a hike, and there was a spider that you probably could maybe see with a fucking magnifying glass. And she was like, screaming. And I was like, what? Like, and it was like a little spider, and the spider was on me. And I was like, oh, like.
But she was freaking out.
And she's like, oh, now you know one of my weaknesses. And I was like, we did some hypnotherapy. She's not scared of spiders one time. Bam. It was like, it was just in her head. It was locked in. And it was like.
You found it? Boom. Done.
She's like, yeah, no, I don't even have it. It's just gone. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. Thank you very kindly. We'll be back on deck soon. And if you have a story or a comment, question, put it in at writemac.com. Otherwise, have a good day.
Later, guys.